Greetings and salutations. My name is Alacia Arnold, and I'm here doing an interview in Battery Park.
Nice. And so you came here recently?
Yes, just about 3 weeks ago, I moved to New York City all by myself from a small town in Oregon, actually called Culver, Oregon, with like a population of maybe about 2,000 people.
Okay. So it's only been 3 weeks since you've been here. What are your impressions of New York? Have you been here before?
I did actually come to New York in June for about a week. I did competitions at IMTA, which is an International Modeling and Talent Association.
Okay.
And so I was here for that week. And then just a couple months after that, I moved all the way across the country to here. And so far, it hasn't been too bad. Honestly, I've only had a couple encounters that I would say was probably a little uncomfortable, but that can happen anywhere. Basically, everyone's been super friendly.
But do you want to talk about what happened?
Yeah, sure. So I got a job at a coffee shop here, so I am now a barista. And I was working at one of the coffee shops over near like Columbus Circle, and this guy comes in and kind of speaks gibberish to me. And I'm not a person to first judge. I'm like, I'll give the man a chance. Maybe he just wants the coffee, because he did not look the best. But he says something to me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, did you say you wanted a coffee? And then he yells and grabs the whole tip jar and just walks out. Like the whole just tip jar with $6 in it. And just walks out. And I was like, okay, so I guess you could call that a robbery. So that was interesting. And then second, I live in a student housing, which is only for students that are in the performing arts, like acting and dancing, singing, all the above. And most of them are student age. Well, I walked downstairs one time to go do my laundry, and there's this man standing in the lobby, and he asks me a pretty uncomfortable question, saying that he has erectile dysfunction and that he wanted help with a hand job.
Oh my goodness.
And I looked at him and I was like, yeah, no, I can't help you with that. And I go downstairs to do my laundry, and he ends up following me down to the basement, lays down on the ground next to me. And I go up to him like, do I need to call the doctor like for your problem? And he's like, no, it's not even a big deal, man. Can you just like show me a little leg? And I was like, all right. So I go up to my apartment room and I put a knife in my bag, and I grab my roommate, and I'm like, we're about to go kick this man out of here, because I'm not gonna wait and sit around and let him hang out here. So I go back downstairs. I'm like, dude, someone called the cops on you. You gotta get out of here. Like, they're coming. You're gonna get in trouble. Like, we gotta go. And he's like, bro, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. And so to my surprise, this man actually gets up and walks out of the building. And on his way out, asks me if I have any cigs or medication to give him. Anyways, I guess someone ended up buzzing him in because he was buzzing all the apartment rooms. So that was interesting for sure.
Can you just go over that incident again? What happened?
Yeah, so basically in my apartment, the laundry room is down in the basement. And I was coming from upstairs, going down to do my laundry, and this guy was in the lobby. And shall I remind everyone that this is a student housing, like it's full of dancers, actors, performers, young students. And this man already did not fit the description. And so I figured maybe he was a maintenance guy or something was going on, even though I didn't really study his attire very well, because it ended up like his pants were on wrong side out, and he had like love tattoos, but the tattoos on the face and then just everywhere, kind of like upside down crosses, kind of gave you off like maybe a little sketchy of a vibe. But he told me that he was having a problem and he needed help. And I asked, I don't think I can help you. And he's like, well, here, we could just do it by the door. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said that he has an erectile dysfunction, and he does the hand motion of a hand job, and he said, maybe you could just help me out a little bit with this. And I looked at him, I'm like, I don't know what that means. I'm sorry, I can't help you. And so I continue to go back downstairs to do my laundry, and I'm sitting down there just thinking of what just happened, and he ends up coming downstairs, laying down on the floor and saying, I walked past him going upstairs because I'm like, I'm not gonna hang out down in the basement with this strange man that's laying on the floor.
Yeah.
And I go up to him and I'm like, should I call the cops, a doctor, like for your problem you have? And he's like, no, it's not even that big of a deal. Like, you don't have to get the cops involved. It's just like, maybe you could show me a little leg. And I looked at this man and I told him, I was just like, you're fucking ridiculous. So I go back upstairs and I tell my roommate what happened. I'm like, I think we should go down there and try to kick him out. And so I grab a knife and I put it in my bag just in case shit were to go to the worst case scenario. And we go downstairs and he starts asking all these weird questions. And I looked at him, I'm like, dude, someone called the cops on you. You gotta go. And he's like, who called the cops? I'm like, someone upstairs. They just told me you're gonna get in trouble, man. You gotta get out of here. They're coming for you, basically. And to my surprise, he actually got up and I made sure I followed him out. And before leaving, he's like, do you have any cigs or medications? I'm like, this fucking guy. And so finally he leaves and I make sure the door's shut and I like call my supervisor of the building, and I guess comes to find out was he was buzzing all the apartment building numbers and someone actually buzzed him in. Don't know who would have thought that was a great idea, but that happened, so that was quite interesting.
So this was in like the first week or two that you moved here?
It actually just happened,
Oh, okay.
I think last Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when you first came here, did you have like a place set up or did you just come here and just figured it out as you got here? So
it was actually a very stressful process because getting housing in Manhattan is extremely expensive. Like $3,000 is your monthly rent, basically, and I don't got that income, especially being a student and wanting to pursue acting. Obviously, that's not where I am at right now. But I was looking at like housing in New Jersey, Brooklyn, all around, and just everything kind of seemed a little sketchy. But with my school, there was a third-party housing, and that actually ended up being the best deal, the best location, and so I was able to actually get a roommate. But it took over a month to get that figured out, to where the day of flying out of Portland, Oregon was the day the lease was completed. So it was very stressful. Couldn't sleep for like 2 weeks. Had no idea if I even were to get to New York if I had a place to go. So.
Were you prepared to like basically figure it out, like come here without a plan? Were you prepared to do it if like the lease didn't go through? Were you prepared to just figure it out? Like if there's no place for you to go, were you prepared to just like live on the streets for a couple weeks?
No.
Would you come here?
I had some money saved back, and also like my parents have helped out a little bit with it, but it was like either a hotel until like the lease got figured out, because they're like, well, you have a place to stay, we just don't know if you have a roommate yet. So it was either like between two completely different prices that I would have to pay monthly depending on if my roommate got their papers filled out or not. So it was basically my roommate that determined which room I got and how much I paid per month.
But you had it figured out before you got here, just barely?
That day,
okay.
That morning that I got here was the day I got it all figured out.
Okay. And so you came here primarily.
New York.
You came here primarily because you had a scholarship?
Yeah, when so like it all kind of like started in January of this year of like 2023. I signed with a Seattle talent agency in Washington, and they had me doing like all these online classes and just performing and trying my acting skills out, and they actually invited me to come to New York City to audition or compete in the IMTA. And so that was a whole week in June. So from January, and I think I found out about IMTA in about like March, April time? Yeah. So then I had all that time to prepare to come here. And so I went through modeling competitions and acting competitions, and I ended up getting awards and all that stuff, but I got a partial scholarship for the New York Performing Arts Academy. And they made it to where it seemed everything could actually be affordable. Like I was planning on selling my vehicle at the time, and I'm like, this will pay for this month's rent, and this will, so it was like basically I had a whole month to figure out if this is what I wanted to truly do. And I mean, I had nothing really going for me in Oregon, and so I was like, why not just take a risk and go for it and see where I can actually go with it.
Right. But what were you doing before you came here?
Before I came here, well, I was raised on 40 acres of farmland, and so I grew up kind of like in the country life, and I was working at a coffee shop back home for over a year. And I just got into acting in January. So basically it's like when I was younger, I would do little performance and skits for my parents, but it's always kind of like, oh, everyone wants to be an actress, everyone wants to be famous. You're not gonna get anywhere, you're just gonna be like everyone else that's gonna waste their time and money. And I also, like, my parents were supportive of it, but they also thought I was crazy to want to move all the way to New York City at the age of 19. And so I had a job and I had friends and I had family, but I didn't feel like I really had a career path. And yeah, I was like, acting is something I actually really enjoy, and after doing the classes and performing at IMTA, it actually felt like a life that I'd get up and work every day and not feel like I let myself down.
And so basically you had some a little bit of resistance from your family. They were like, are you sure you want to do this? Did you have like a lot of conversations with them?
Well, basically, like, they know I'm pretty hard-headed. Like, once I turned 18, it was kind of like, I had a best friend that passed away a few years back, and when she passed away, it kind of just like hit me that life is like super short, and if you're not taking risks and trying to make yourself your life and like stop living for others, it's like I'm not gonna be happy. And I really look at like where I'm gonna be in 10 years, and I don't try to plan for the future, but I definitely do not want to let myself down, because like in this world of many possibilities, there is also like a lot of failures. So I kind of like pushed the failures out of my head, and I was just like, kind of like just a fuck it, you know? If something happens, you actually went out and did it. And so while there was like my family that's kind of like, oh, I wish you don't want to go, but we want you to follow your dreams, so we're here to help you. But then also like from friends, and they're like, that's crazy, go for it. But then also, crazy was the word that described me. Basically back home, like, it was kind of hard almost, because everyone's like, oh, when you come back home, or when you do this, and it's like, no, it's like, I'm going there to not have to come back home and live with my parents. I'm doing this to get a career out of it. And even if it's not acting, it's something else, because you're in New York City, you're gonna find something that's gonna be passionate about. So.
And what about your friends? What did they have to say?
I'm a woman, a very small friend group. So basically, they're all just like, we support you. You know, they were here through it all. And I actually ended up meeting like one of my friends from a friend group, didn't know them very well, 4 days before moving here. And we actually like hit it off really well to now that we've actually been dating long term. And I've always like said, I would never do that shit, because like that just seems impossible. And I wasn't really looking for someone, but those 4 days before coming here, it's like everyone's like, oh, are you gonna stay here now that you have a relationship? And I didn't look at it like that. I looked at it more like as a chance to come here for my career, not be open to relationships, because that would distract me from the path that I'm trying to go on, you know? So I'm just strictly in New York City for this schooling, for these opportunities. Like last night, I just signed up for Backstage, just last night, and applied to like all these auditions and castings, and I'm just trying to get out there as fast as I can, you know?
Right. So you just signed up like to apply for jobs recently, for acting jobs. So you haven't really had much work in the city yet as an actor.
No.
Okay.
I actually just got my first $11 check today for Central Casting, for doing a harassment quiz online. I didn't know I was going to get paid for that, but that was my first paid thing for acting, I guess you could say. But no, I really don't have any like backstories, because like I said, it all just kind of happened in January, where I took classes, and then the competitions at IMTA, like I did improvisation and monologue and like all of the above, to where like I won awards for that, and that's how I ended up getting the scholarship. So yeah, not much experience under my belt, but I definitely come in hitting it strong, you know, like it's already almost 3 weeks in, and I'm getting stuff done now. Definitely trying to, at least. Hello, my name is Antonia Lopez Montoya. I'm 21 years old and I am originally from Colombia. I moved to New York City 2 years ago to study musical theater. That has been my passion since like I was a little girl. I've always wanted to move to New York since I was like 6 years old, and I came here for the first time. This city just like captured me with its whole energy, and then I discovered musical theater, and that theater in general was like my biggest passion and a sort of motor in my life, and I moved here to pursue my education. I just graduated and I am really excited about what the future holds in this city.
Did you just graduate high school?
I just graduated college.
College, okay.
Yes, I just graduated college.
So how old are you?
I'm 21.
21, okay.
21, yes.
Did you do college? Where are you from originally?
I'm from Colombia originally,
Okay.
so I graduated high school and then the pandemic happened, and then I moved here to study, to go to college.
Okay, so you went to college here.
Yes.
Okay.
It was a conservatory program, so it was only like 2 years.
Was it acting?
It
School?
was for musical theater, like,
Musical theater.
in general. So both, like the three things: dancing, acting, and singing.
Oh, what was the name? What was the name of it?
I went to AMDA, the American Music and Dramatic Academy,
Okay.
integrated program. That's what the major was called.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why did you choose there? Why did you choose to go there? Over other places?
Right. I think I really wanted a place in the city. I didn't want to go anywhere else in the U.S. but New York, and AMDA just offered a very like rigorous, intense, but also very like formative program, very condensed, which I also liked because I wanted to get things done and moving. So yeah, I just chose it. Also, like not really knowing what the city had to hold. Like I didn't live here before, so I really didn't know what to expect. But that just looked like the best option, and I'm really glad I did it. Yeah.
And so, you always wanted to come here, like to New York?
Yes, ever since I was like 6 years old, I've always wanted to be here. I feel like this is a city of art and culture and diversity and just energy. And yeah, I feel like music has always been a passion in my life, always been like the driving force. And New York has always meant music to me. So I always wanted to be here no matter like what kind of art or music I was pursuing. I've always wanted to be here in the city.
Okay, but it's not close to where you're from originally.
Home,
Yeah. So, was it tough to move here? Like, were you like a little bit hesitant? Like, was there a little bit of?
Yeah, definitely. Like adapting to the city is hard. Also, like making the decision to go away. I have a very supporting family, so I've always been very motivated and very safe and like supported to kind of pursue what I want and pursue my dreams. So that was like a plus, but it also made it kind of hard to say goodbye to like a loving environment and the people that I care most about. But it was all in like favor of my dreams and my passion and who I am as a person. So it is hard. It is hard to be away from home. Like I always say I have like a ticking clock that kind of runs out, and I kind of need to be back in Colombia at some point. But also I feel like I've had made myself a little home in New York, and I also feel like now I'm becoming more of like it's becoming a dual home situation for me now.
Right.
Yeah.
So you couldn't really see yourself staying where you were. Like you wouldn't feel.
Yeah,
the same?
absolutely not. I feel like back at home, I mean, I just feel like the musical theater is a very intrinsically American tradition. There's, I mean, of course, like globalization happens and things get like international, but like even though there is musical theater elsewhere, I feel like there's nothing like America and like New York City to kind of like exploit that market. And if I would have stayed home, I just wouldn't have had the amount of opportunities and variety of opportunities that I have here. Yeah, like people are not really like familiarized or interested in that sort of aspect of like music and kind of art and theater. So I kind of needed to leave because back home I wouldn't have been able to exploit all of that passion, and like I would have had to like conform to something else.
And why musical theater? Like why is that?
Why is it captivating? I don't know. I really like theater as an art form in general. I feel like it's sort of like a very raw human experience. I've always liked that like intimacy that you don't get from other mediums of art. And I've always liked singing. Like before I really knew what musical theater was, I loved singing. Singing is what really connects me with like my own self and also with other people. So that interjection between singing and theater for me is just like ultimate form of like self-expression and self like realization. It's like for me an expression of just like the things that I like to do most combined in one, and it just makes me feel really good. I just feel like there's something very honest and daring about singing on stage and trying to sing what you feel and using melodies instead of words to kind of relate a feeling or an emotion or a situation. I really like it. Yeah.
Who are you, what is some of the work that you like to watch, like films or like who are some of your
theater-wise, I really like Chekhov. I really like his plays, the way he writes. It's all very beautiful. I really appreciate aesthetic and metaphors. So I really enjoy his writing. It's just very beautiful to me. Sondheim is also one of my favorite composers. I think he's an absolute genius. All of his musicals are perfect to me. And I really like Sofia Coppola in terms of like films. I think she's such a powerful director. Again, aesthetic-wise, she has such a strong aesthetic, like a sense of self-expression, and also like it's not aesthetic for the purpose of like beauty, just beauty. It's aesthetic for the purpose, for like a bigger purpose, which I really enjoy. And my favorite singer and artist, recording artist, it's probably Lana Del Rey. I really connect with her music a lot. I feel like she always talks from like the most vulnerable place about topics that just really resonate with me, like womanhood, fragility, like beauty, religion, money, a lot of things. Yeah.
Which Sofia Coppola's films do you like?
My favorite Sofia Coppola movie is definitely it's Marie Antoinette, for sure. I feel like it's just a very genius reimagining of like a historical event. It's a myth buster about like who Marie Antoinette was, like just like reinventing this myth of a woman, also giving her credit in the sense of like she wasn't perfect. She was obviously part of like a monarchy, but still like recognizing that she was part of a system as well. And like just the aesthetics and the use of the aesthetics to forward the story and the plot and the critiques. It was beautiful.
And do you want to like make films yourself, direct films, write films?
I always thought about maybe instead of like appearing in a movie, like maybe by that point I would love to like produce, maybe even direct a movie. I feel like, yeah, I like to boss people around and yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think like I'm still very young and very like new to the whole thing. So we'll see. Like maybe in the future I will be producing movies or theater even.
But you're mostly interested right now in doing musical theater. That's the number one thing?
Yeah, I'm mostly interested in like acting.
Or films.
Acting in general, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously as an artist, as a young artist especially, and especially in New York, you have to like balance out things that you want to do and things that are there because you have to like make rent and make ends meet at the end of the day. But hopefully acting has always been like the goal. Even if it's musical theater, just theater, films, like everything I can get my hands on, basically.
How was the school? Like, how was the environment there when you first came here and you started to attend classes? Mm-hmm. Was it like a full-time? Were you a full-time student?
Yeah.
Okay. How was the like whole environment? Like, how was it like? What was it like?
It was different. It was very intense. Since it was a conservatory, so 2 years, so everything was like very condensed into just 2 years of learning, which is crazy because I really didn't know a lot of musical theater. Like I didn't have any of the bases. So for me, it was pretty awesome to just go in and like be kind of bombarded with all of this knowledge and all of this like tools and tips and like, yeah. So for someone that didn't know a lot of musical theater and about musical theater, I think like the amount of lessons and like experience that I've gained in the school was like, it just didn't have any comparison to anything I would have gone anywhere else. The environment was just, it was really confusing. It was really welcoming in some aspects. It was not welcoming in others. Obviously, like things like musical theater always like brew a lot of competition and a lot of like drama and jealousy, but like I think that's just because actors are passionate people. Art always inspires a lot of like feelings and sentiments, and I was very fortunate to have really good teachers. I really like admired most of my teachers. I'm always gonna like have all of like their teachings in my like in my belt for the rest of my life. I don't think I'm ever gonna like forget the lessons and all of the technique that I've learned there. It was really intense. It really showed me a lot of like what I can do in terms of discipline, of passion, of talent, of pushing myself. There was a lot of that. And there was also a lot of like community building, which was very important to me because I was new in the city. I really didn't know anybody. And I've left with not only like unvaluable experience, but also like a community that's going to be with me for the rest of my life, and like a network of support and people that can help me out in the city that I wouldn't have otherwise met or be able to like even contact.
Well, do you think like what were the teachers like? Were there a couple that really stood out to you, and then like, do you think they improved your techniques and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like I had a very wonderful musical theater teacher He taught me a lot. He taught me a lot about myself. He really dared me to explore my own sense of self in the theater, because sometimes as actors we tend to, or as young actors, it's difficult sometimes to, if you're building up characters and if you're trying to get better in character work, it's easier to lose a little bit of your sense of self and who you are in your work. So he taught me a lot about that, about like bringing yourself into every character and also letting that character exist truthfully in that set of like circumstances. He also taught me a lot about the realism that needs to accompany every song, because sometimes we just tend to forget that singing is just a device to help the story and not just there to like entertain or be a beautiful song. For that, we would just go to a simple concert and not a theater to like experience that. So yeah, I also feel like my voice teacher helped me so much too in terms of like technique, and it's not easy to be a theater actor and your voice like just needs to be really there for 8 times a week. Really there to, and also you need to sustain it and like keep it safe and healthy till you're older. So
What do you think? What do you think is the most important thing when it comes to doing either a stage play or work in a film? Like, what do you think like is the main thing to put on a good performance that you've learned after studying for a couple of years?
I think there's like a recipe for me. I've always think there's a recipe because I'm very methodical. So I like to study a lot. I like to like sit down and break down the scripts, the librettos, the characters. Like if you're going to portray a character, you need to like be able to know so much about this character that you like let it breathe and be truthful. So a lot of knowledge about that character, about their behavior, about their way of communicating, their way of thinking, their way of feeling is very important for like you as a person to really embody that character. Yeah, I think like really being mindful about that context, and also always like being clear about objective, like pursuing an objective in every scene, like doing it through actions instead of just emotions. Yeah, just being focused and being present in the moment, and being present with your scene partner, being able to pass the ball around, you know?
All right.
So just introduce yourself first.
My name's Kira. I am 24 and I just moved about a month ago from Boston to New York, Jersey City, Union City. But yeah, I've been here for about a month, and I really just want to try everything while I'm here. I've always wanted to try every facet of art and production and film and performance, entertainment, really all of it. And I don't know what kind of artist I want to be, and I thought that all artists have I just thought that people who are successful have a set life and a set goal and a set path. But I realized that while I was in Boston, if you want to be an artist, you have to make those opportunities come and appear for yourself. And no one was going to do that. No one was just going to, find me and be like, wow, you look like an artist. Let me take you and make you the best kind of artist you can be. So when I was in Boston, I just kind of started to model at first. And then I realized that I hated taking direction from people. So I wanted to get behind the camera and I wanted to start directing. And I directed 3 short films, and they were all produced by grants from the city, about Asian American fetishization of women, and multicultural solidarity. I originally came to Boston to become a doctor, but I realized, why do I want to become a doctor? I live in an Asian household, so majoring or minoring in Asian American studies was really important to me to try and understand myself, and it was the first time I was taking a college course that I was learning about myself, and I felt alive. I felt represented in class, and I essentially cried my way through my entire college career because I was just going through so many different feelings and emotions and realizations that my parents' approval is never going to make me happy. Their approval is different from my approval, and my approval is the only thing that matters in my life. So I realized that my hobbies that really just make me happy, like dancing and acting and singing and being in a community and making community and telling stories about the community that you assume people don't want to hear, but it's just the master narrative telling you that, you don't want to hear it. And I believed that for a really long time, that my story and the stories that I want to hear aren't what people want to invest in and produce. And I learned that I need to fight against that in college, in my anthropology sort of work. So when I was becoming a doctor, it's honestly crazy because I failed bio in high school. I hated math. I just hated all sciences. I was always talking in English and history and, was much better at that. But I was just told that the best careers are in science. The things that matter are in science, even though I was so bad at it. And I essentially moved to Boston as a way to get away from all of those voices, but I was still catering to them because I was becoming a doctor. Through that, I got really depressed. I always struggled with depression when I was a kid. I was, I think, 12 years old when I knew that I had depression because I had a lot of pressure from my parents to do well in school and do something with some sort of gift that I had. When that gift was really just charisma and art and love for performance and making people laugh and dancing. That was really my gift, but my parents wanted something lucrative, and I wanted my parents to approve of me. So, going to college to try and appease them was huge. But after 3 years of biochemistry, I finally realized that I hated it and I needed to take a gap year or a gap semester. So I took that gap semester and went back to school for anthropology and got my degree in anthropology and liberal arts. And since then, I've just wanted to push that art part of liberal arts as far as I could. So that's kind of why I decided to come to New York. I moved to Boston because it's the medical center of the country, and New York is the artistic center of the country. So I'm here to see if I can survive it, to see if this is, something I'm really, really passionate and willing to work hard in. So I think I'm going to give it, a solid 3 years. And if by the end of this 3 years, then I'm, unhappy like I was during my pre-med program, then I know that it's not for me. And I know that I'm grateful that I went through it. I'm sober now, and I'm sober by like 102 days. I've always worked in restaurants as a means of survival and also as a means of funding my art career. So that also means drinking a lot. My first job was at 14 years old. I'm 24 now, so I've worked in restaurants for about 10 years and was drinking, pretty consistently since I started. I definitely drank more as I turned 21, and but when I was in high school, I was definitely, drinking on the weekends and, not using drugs, but it's still drinking a lot. And I realized that I never really had an amount of time of being sober since I was 14, since I first got a job. So I want my life in New York to be different. I want my life in New York to be focused on my healing and focused on like learning how to be a human that knows how to communicate. That's what's so amazing about AA, is that they really teach you how to communicate your feelings and how to talk about what's bothering you, how to make amends with people you've hurt in the past, whether it was because you were drunk or whether it's because you were dealing with mental health issues and dealing with insecurities. They really give you tools that I think every person, whether you're an alcoholic, a drug addict, or not, you should have. And a really amazing community of people that just want to support you and just want to give you options, want to give you places to go, people to meet. I've always been a really independent person, and sometimes that's lonely. And I feel like sometimes being an artist in your field can be really lonely, especially when you're just starting out. So AA has been huge for me to find people to support me. That's definitely something I'm working on while in New York. It's just finding a team of people that can support me, and I think I've been working on that every day. And if I wasn't sober, I don't think I would have the amount of connections that I've made in the last month. I probably wouldn't have even met you if I was, drinking last night, because I would have been tired or, not feeling up for it. And being sober can be really hard at times, but other times I'm so thankful that I'm sober. I went to a bar and everyone was drunk, and I was like, what is this? It was so weird. I challenge anyone watching this to go to a bar and not drink and look around. And what do you really think about those people? Yeah. What else can I talk about?
Well, how bad was the drinking?
I mean, drinking consistently since 14 seems so I was always like a blackout drinker. Whenever I would drink, I would really be blacking out, especially during college. And I would be having fights with the people around me, like people who loved me and a community of people who were supporting me, who wanted to drink as well. So drinking was for social validation. I've always, because my parents were so hard on me, I always needed validation from others to feel like I mattered, to feel like my voice mattered, and to feel like, it's worth talking. Like when I wasn't, drunk, I would barely speak. And when I was drunk, I felt like I could speak. But then when I was too drunk, I would speak way too much, and it would be aggressive. And just like that's when, my mental illness would start to come out, because I'm blacked out, but, what's still awake is essentially like, my nightmares come alive, my insecurities come alive would happen, and I would just push away everyone around me, and I would just really have fights with all these people out of jealousy, out of love, but it wasn't love. Everyone was like, "What are you doing?" Like, I can't even remember what I was doing, but I know that it was so bad because I don't talk to those people anymore, and they were my main, unit when I moved to Boston. But after a while, they had to they just didn't know what to do with me, and that's like totally fair. I'm sorry. I don't have any money on me.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But what was I gonna say?
But don't mean to cut you off. Well, those are the people that kind of got you drinking heavily, or were you drinking a little bit more?
No, I was drinking since high school.
But not. Well, did it get progressively worse?
It definitely got progressively worse in college.
Okay.
But I mean, a big part of that was because I was on the wrong path, that I wasn't really focusing on art, which was making me happy. I was focusing on things I didn't like. So that's kind of when drinking became an outlet for anger, because I did not like where I was going. I didn't like the path I was on. And that's kind of how it got worse. The people that I was drinking with really weren't the big issue. Yes, they drank a lot, but who doesn't when they go to college? So I really don't think they caused it. They honestly told me that drinking was an issue for me. They were one of the first people to tell me that it was an issue, but it took me a lot longer to get help for it until this year, and I met them 7 years ago, so it took me 7 years to get help for being an alcoholic. But as soon as I started blacking out and fighting with them, they told me I needed to get help for that, and so I did get help, and I was diagnosed with depression. So they helped me in those ways, and of course, but it didn't immediately fix the problem, because I wasn't getting help for me. I was getting help so that I could stay friends with other people. I was getting help so that other people would see that I'm trying to be better for them. And my whole life, I've been trying to be better for other people, whether it's my parents or my best friends or my teachers. It was never just for me. And so moving to New York was a huge step of, this is for me. Like, this is absolutely just for me, so that I can learn how to be an artist in a somewhat cheap way, because I don't want to go to art school, but I do want to pursue art. I have no connections. So what's the best way to see if I can do it. It's going to New York and trying to learn stuff on the fly. And I mean, I've been doing that pretty well. I tried modeling here, and I went to a casting that was 8 hours long. I met a bunch of people. They gave me more castings, practiced my walked for 6 designers, and it was 6 no's, which was really hard. And I knew that coming here I'd have to deal with a lot of no's, and that dealing with those no's would test where I'm at mentally, where I'm at in terms of my journey as just like a person, not just an artist. And I also realized that modeling isn't the type of art that I want to professionally pursue. If it's lucrative, I want to do it, but I also really want to have a voice as an artist, and it's kind of hard at the angle that I'm going at by like going to castings and going to designers and pop-ups and trying to meet as many people on the street in fashion. It's hard to there's very few areas where you have a voice in those situations. So I need to go at it at another angle and start kind of building a following for myself, so that instead of, trying to find model gigs on the street, I'm finding other gigs on the street. I'm getting more of a following for whatever those things are. It's only been 1 month, so I've checked modeling off of that list. And, building that following will then hopefully get brands to approach me. I think that's the goal. I would really like to create a sort of blog or vlog that people who might be struggling, whether it's mental health, whether it's becoming an artist, whether it's living in New York City, I want people to sort of kind of come together in that way, and then see if I can build some sort of, following from that. Yeah.
Naomi, tell me a little bit about what you do.
Sure. Okay, so my name's Naomi Eden. I'm a comedian, actress, singer, and I'm a professional napper. I do a little bit of everything, but mostly I do stand-up comedy. I like to act in like independent TV shows sometimes, web series. I did one over the summer, which was really nice. What else? Sometimes I like to nap and cry when I'm not doing other things. Yeah, in a nutshell.
So, would you say like your main thing is like stand-up? Is that your main thing that you're pursuing?
Yeah, so my main thing is stand-up.
Yeah.
I really love it. I love being on stage. I love making people laugh. It takes me out of my like a really dark place. So.
And how long have you been doing stand-up?
5 years.
5 years.
Wait, 3 if you minus the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
Okay, wait. I did Zoom comedy, but does that really count?
Really? How was that? How was Zoom comedy?
It was confusing.
Yeah.
Because you don't know who's like real laughing and fake laughing. Like for me, like I just like my cheekbones started hurting because I had to like smile and pretend I was into it, but I was bored. Okay, yeah. I sound like such a bitch. I'm not a bitch.
No. I don't know how that would really work because like Zoom comedy. I know you would have to like you want to do something, I guess, to have an outlet, but like I won't understand that really because how can you? It would be very hard for me to do something like a Zoom comedy show.
I mean, it's interesting because first it was Zoom comedy because everyone was home. And then everyone went to like rooftop comedy and rooftop mics, and we were like 6 feet apart with masks on.
Really?
And it was bizarre, but like it was kind of like at least we got something to work with, which I really liked.
Yeah. So you started like about 5 years. 5 years you've been doing it?
Yeah.
And when did you move here, like to New York?
I moved here 3 years ago, right before the pandemic.
Right before the pandemic. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And where did you come from?
Florida.
Florida? Okay.
Yeah.
So you moved here to do stand-up primarily, but also do acting.
No, actually, I moved here to do stand-up.
Stand-up only. Okay.
Yeah.
That was your main goal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stand up and find a job to support myself in the meantime.
Yeah.
And my sister let me live with her, which was really nice. I can get on my feet.
Yeah. Did your sister was here?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. So when you first got here, what were you doing, like a lot of open mics?
Yeah, I was.
Like to get started, like what was your like beginning phase, like when you first came here? How did it work for you? Did you have to like find different gigs, like comedy gigs? Like how did that all work?
I was doing open mics and, connecting with people. I was networking. And from there, I started booking on shows. And then when the pandemic happened and everything shut down, it was a whole different story.
Okay, so how long was it before the pandemic started? After you came here, how long was the pandemic?
Literally 3 months.
Okay, so you got here in 3 months, the pandemic hit. So you had to do, like, you're here, you wanted to do stand-up, and then, like, you everything was on hold.
Yeah, I felt like God was telling me to just sit and meditate every day while fearing a whole disease.
So you had to just, like, basically put everything on hold for however long. When the first pandemic happened, like, when the pandemic happened, did you just, like, stay home most of the time? You didn't go out?
Yeah, I stayed home.
Yeah, you couldn't do anything, really?
No.
So you tried to do some, like, Zoom comedy.
I did. I tried. I mean, I didn't try. I made posts that, like, were funny because I noticed on, like, I didn't notice, but on social media, you can also do comedy through there, whether it's the things you say, the memes you post, the stories you write about. So that was really nice.
So you were trying to get some people. Were you getting, like, making a show, trying to do, like, a comedy show online, and, like, getting people to come onto Zoom and do, like, a stand-up kind of thing?
I did do one, like, it was an Instagram Live, and people were doing that too.
Okay.
So one, like, Instagram Live comedy thing. But like I said, it's confusing because you don't know if your joke lands.
Yeah.
Like when you're on stage in front of people, whether it's fellow comics or just texting and not paying attention, or actual people who want to be there and laugh, you know if your joke lands. But like when you're home on Instagram Live and you don't know who's like fake laughing or real laughing, and it's like, it's different,
Yeah. So, so like during that time, you couldn't get anywhere stand-up wise, really. I mean, it was just doing Zoom stuff, and like it would be almost impossible to do anything stand-up when you can't go out.
Yeah.
So that time, really, you couldn't do anything, like.
For me personally, but also I did take a step back and a break because I really need to take care of my mental health and like personal things that I was going through at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't look at it as like, oh no, comedy's ending. For me, I did take it as a break for a little bit.
Yeah. But do you want to talk about that or not really?
I don't mind.
Yeah, like what kind of mental health things, like what were you going through at the time? What did you want to like think, like how did you want to, what did you do during that time for your mental health?
I just kind of stuck to myself, watched TV, tried to figure out where my life is going because I felt like my whole 20s, I mean, I have borderline personality disorder, and that's not like 10 personalities. That's like, it's basically characterized by like heavy emotional instability. And for me, I felt like that robbed me of my 20s. And at the time I was 26. And when you're home and now everything's shut down and you don't know where to look or what to do, it makes it harder to like cope with the fact that like you feel like at 23 you could have done something with your life. You could have been in entertainment deeper in, but instead you just slept and cried a lot because you couldn't cope with your emotions. You as in me.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what you go through, but yeah.
So like during that time, you just like kind of thought about like, I wish like I wasn't going through those things because I could have got my career started earlier. But like since you were going through those kind of things like earlier, that kind of blocked your aspirations.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 29 now. I hate to age myself, but it's good for perspective. I'm unemployed. I'm still going through what I'm going through, and people will look at it as an excuse. Oh, you're just being lazy because you don't want to pursue your dreams. And I'm like, no, I feel like I'm in quicksand. I'm trying to get out of the quicksand, but it's really hard. Even like a year ago, I lost my job in a very traumatic way. You know, it's a long story, like I can't talk about it. But after that, I was broken and broke. I've gone through hunger. I've gone through like, I would have to dig through quarters just for 50 cents for a bag of chips. You know, and it sounds depressing, but people think that's just an excuse to like not do things. I literally couldn't leave my bed and go do comedy. It's tough.
Right, because you were going through a lot of things, like during that time you were going through a lot, and like you couldn't even find, like you didn't have the energy to do those kind of things, like the comedy and stand up. You just like were like not in a good place, and you're just like you didn't want to.
Yeah, I mean, still as we talk right now in this very moment, I'm not in a good place, but I'm smiling, I'm cracking jokes, I'm laughing because I want anybody who's watching this to see that like you could still be a light in spite of how dark things are for you.
Basically, did you get out of it during the pandemic? Like, did it get better for you after the pandemic, or during that time did you like kind of find a little bit of peace and like were able to start doing things when everything started to open up again? Were things a little bit better in terms of like getting out there doing stand-up?
Yeah. You know, I had a career in marketing and writing. So for me, like when we were working from home, it was so easy to like pursue my comedy, and I would like, I say like a lot. Like. Okay. Well, I would go to open mics and perform in shows, and I felt like I was getting trajectory. And then I lost my job, and from there it was just like one thing after the other. And when you're hungry and waiting for your food stamps application to go through, and then it gets rejected because they said you don't submit, I'm talking a lot, but when you're like waiting for your food stamps, cash assistance, you have no money and you're relying on, I don't know, like it's tough because I do comedy and I love it, but when you're in quicksand, you know, you grab what you can.
Yeah. So like that's really the only path you want to go on as a comedy or like artistic path. You don't want to take you're not really, sometimes you have to, but you don't really want to go to the traditional work environment. You would rather pursue something like in the arts.
Absolutely.
You're not interested in like a regular traditional career.
Oh, fuck no.
Okay.
But let me preface this, because I know I was just complaining, oh, we can't get work, it'll work, but I would take it, you know?
You would take it.
And tell myself every day, one day at a time, one day at a time, one day at a time, just to get myself through it, because I have to pay my rent, I have to feed myself, I don't want my butt to get small, I like my butt as it is, because when you lose weight, the first fucking thing that goes is your ass, which is not that important, it's trivial, but still, I want to feel good about my body.
Was the process like for the getting government like help, like was it hard? Like did it take a long time to get like cash assistance or like food stamps? Was the process like take a long time? Like did you have trouble getting those things?
The bureaucracy fucks you up.
Really?
Because they say upload your documents on the app, like the HRA app, then you do, and like I didn't hear from them, so I went in person. They're like, yeah, you didn't upload your documents, so you got rejected. And I'm like, well, how the hell did that happen? A little glitch in the system? Was it Mercury in retrograde? I don't know.
But it took you a while.
Yeah, and I still don't have food stamps.
Oh, you really don't? They didn't even help you out with that?
No, because of my document situation, which is fine. I don't have to get into it, but
right.
It's just it's tough times, and when it's tough times, you know, there are people who get up and do comedy and bang it out every single day, and for me, like, I can barely get on the train at night without getting anxiety about leaving my home. You know what I mean? It's like something pulls me back to my bed.
Really?
Yeah, so this is a good analogy. When you do yoga, they say you bring yoga off the mat. You know, you practice that peace of mind, you know, you can stretch where you go. Same thing with comedy for me. Because to me, comedy is not just about standing on a stage and telling jokes. Personally to me, everybody has a different opinion. To me, it's about bringing it out, you know, laughing at life, laughing at the little things. Whether it's Instagram, posting a funny meme to make myself and other people laugh, or, you know, posting old clips and making TikTok videos and different things. It's not just about being on stage. So I do utilize those fields. I do utilize those tools, you know, from home when I feel like I can't get up and go.
Mm-hmm. You like to look for things that comedy stuff online, and that kind of.
Yeah, I like
nice.
to create comedy.
Yeah.
I like to just make people laugh, and I also like to share the reality of living with mental illness. It's tough.
Yeah. So like, talk like who are your inspirations? Like, what do you want to like? Who do you like in comedy?
Okay, so Joan Rivers inspires me so much.
Yeah.
She's really funny. She's been through a lot of trauma. Her husband killed himself, you know, like she was suicidal from that, and she still rose above and became one of the greatest legends to live. I also love Chelsea Handler. I think she's a bitch, and I fucking love it. You know, she really stands up for herself. And Natasha Leggero. She's just really hilarious. Oh, and Sarah Silverman, Amy Schumer. If I can't think of more off the top of my head, then that means I didn't really like them. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what was it like the first kind of like when you first started to go to clubs, like stand-up clubs? Tell me about the open mics and stuff. Like, did you have a little bit of like stage fright, because you said you did have to deal with some mental things that you were going on at the same time too? So like going on stage can be a little bit nerve-wracking when you're also dealing with things that you're all going through personally. So was there some stage fright in the beginning? Did you have a hard time getting up there?
Well, I will say, and here I am throwing a bundle of shit to the wall, but I'm trans too. So for me, like getting on stage, it's not about fearing like stage fright. It's more about fearing like what the reaction would be when I talk about having a penis and tits. You know.
Is that some of your comment? Do you go like do you do that kind of those kind of jokes?
I used to more, but I don't want it to be like who I am. Like I don't want to be the trans comic. I want it to be a part of me. Like a lot of my jokes are about my like really bad sexual experiences. I will talk about like funny nuances to like being trans, but like it depends on the audience. You know, I don't need a safe space. I want to be where, you know, like people might not get it, but it may resonate in one way or another, because I feel like people can relate and it builds bridges. But sometimes I am scared because I know there are going to be probably men in the audience that are going to get disgusted when I talk about anal and like, you know, like, I don't know, having my dick sucked by a guy with sharp teeth and he almost bit it off one time. Like, almost Lorena Bobbited me, okay? And that's not the punchline. It's for real. That shit hurt. But when I get on stage and I talk about it in front of like alpha males, like, I don't know how the fuck they're going to react. And if people don't laugh, I'm going to feel bad about myself. Like, fuck, I wish I wasn't like this, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going to go home, look in the mirror, tell myself you're beautiful no matter what. And one of the men in the audience probably wanted to fuck you, but that doesn't fucking matter. Yeah, stage fright is a thing.
Hello, I'm Marion Fontaine. I'm from Paris in France, and I moved here to New York 2 years ago now.
Okay, what did you want to come here for?
So I've been always doing acting in France, and I wanted to just study acting here. And I ended up in a musical theater program, and I enjoyed learning dancing and singing. And so now I'm auditioning for all sorts of projects, going from short films, stage, theaters, and acting, singing, dancing.
And you came here to study acting?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it your first time to New York?
Yeah, it was 2 years ago when I moved here in my dorm's room. It was my first time in New York ever.
And where did you study?
I study at AMDA.
Okay.
For musical theater.
Musical theater. Okay, and it's a 2-year program?
Yeah, it's a 4-semester program, and then you can do your semester however you want. I did it in 2 years. And you can do a BFA in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay. So are you thinking about continuing, or?
I don't know if I'm gonna go to Los Angeles. I'm good here now, and auditions are working, so I'm gonna try to get my artistic visa and stay here.
But you do want to go to Los Angeles maybe at some point?
Maybe at some point. I don't think now I have the call to go there, but at some point maybe.
Do you think you got a lot of like a good? Was it a good program that you went to? That you learned? Did you think you improved?
Yeah, I definitely learned a lot. It's an interesting program. It's helping a lot. There's like a lot of, the good thing is that all your teachers are professionals still working in the business. They just come and teach, and so you always have so much to learn from everyone. And yeah, I never knew like how to dance before, so I definitely learned a lot about that, and a lot about singing too.
And you want to do what kind of? You want to do musical theater, or you want to do film also?
I'm more into film right now. I love still the stage. Right now I've been more doing stage works, but I really love the film. I love doing everything in film. I love directing, I love filming, I love editing, I love playing it. I love everything about it.
So you want to direct too? You want to direct films?
Yeah, I direct a lot of like short films, video clips for friends that are like doing covers or like just original songs, and I would direct a clip video for them. Or I'm doing for my dancer friends, I'm editing their dancing reels and filming and everything. And also my own stories that I want to put on in short films. Yeah.
So do you think you rather make your own content instead of work for another like on another project? Would you rather do your own style? Like, do you have your own creative vision, or you don't mind working for somebody else's?
No, I don't mind working for somebody else, because I love how you can just work and learn from so many people by seeing their vision. And I love also like writing a short films, writing the text and then seeing your words in somebody else's voice and the way they make it their own. I love that so much. Like that was the case I did 2 short films here, and one was more like I had the whole story, but the dialogues were more improv. I was like, the goal of the scene is to go from this to that and action. And the next one was more written down. I took care to write the dialogues. I wanted beautiful sentences and like very profound words. And seeing these words in someone else's voice was very, very beautiful.
What kind of genre do you mostly like to work in?
I usually I've always done more comedy things with my friends and family. Oops, sorry. I've done more comedy things at home with my friends and family, and now that I'm here, it's always a little bit funny. There's always something a little bit funny, like little jokes, but yeah, it's not, the goal has not been to do comedy right here, but I want to do a comedy now. But American and French humor, or my humor in a way, is very it's very my own. And so yeah, no, I want to take the time to write a good comedy before jumping on it, because it's very hard.
Do you want to do like a longer production, like a feature-length film?
Oh, I would love to.
And you want to direct too?
Oh yes, when I have the story and everything, because yeah, I did a first short film in February, and then suddenly I loved it so much, like the whole shooting and like the excitement of like being with everyone and having like everybody with me, and then jumping from rooms to rooms and filming, and then I did all the editing, and it was so exciting. And suddenly right after when it was published and everything, I wanted to do something else. But there's also this thing of like wanting to do something else, and then it's not going to be good if you just need to wait sometimes for the good idea. Just wanting to do something for doing something is always like a trap sometimes. So yeah, I waited to have like another good story, and so that's why now I'm kind of working for other people too. It makes me feed my imaginations and stuff.
And so how long was the film that you made, the short film?
In like time, the minutes.
Yeah, minutes.
Like, yeah, like it's 20 minutes.
Oh, it's
something
good.
Like that.
That's really good. And then is your first time directing?
No, I kind of directed since the first day I had a phone. Like I've been always directing little stupid things. Yeah, like 2-minute sketches and stuff like that.
But it's your first like short that you did everything yourself basically. You shot it, edited it.
Yeah, like in September last year, I was in France back for the holidays, for like the just summer break and stuff. And I did my first kind of more professional production where I was doing a call sheet. I casted my friends and I was with my camera and I had everything written down, the storyboards. Every shot was already like thought about and everything. So this was the first like draft try and something like that. And then in February, I wrote down a huge short film with a lot. Everything was, the pre-production was heavy. Like everything was written down, storyboards, dialogues, and then we shot it, and then I edited it. Yeah.
And you shot it in February?
Yes, it was January, February. It came out in February. It's a short film about AMDA. It's called The Integrated. It's on YouTube. It's called The Integrated Short Film. And it's about The Integrated is the name of the program for musical theater. And so it's about how life is. Usually I do a lot of videos to have a memory of like how my life was at one point. And so, yeah, I would do a short film during a vacation or a short film to show like how is the daily life when I'm there or when I'm here. And so this was very much about the school, the vibe, like, so we follow up a cohort and like all the little drama, the classes, the personal journey of everyone.
Is it comedy?
There's some funny moments, but it's more like an overview. We have characters that are not like real people, but yeah, there's some funny moments.
Did you wrote everything out?
I wrote everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this one's like 20. You said 20 minutes.
Yeah, this one is 25 minutes, and it's a musical.
Oh,
I didn't write the songs, obviously. The songs are it's like a jukebox musical. It's like there's like the songs like Cellophane, there's New York, New York, and yeah, a lot of musical songs.
So is this for a student project, or you just wanted to do this for your?
It was just for me, just like trying out. I did like, so I go to school for acting, and all the directing side is more like self education. I'm trying on stuff. Yeah. All the editing is just me. Everything is really made out of scratch. Like I really love these kind of works that are like low budget, just trying things, and you create on the spot. Like the short films that I usually have done my whole life with my friends are just like, I have a camera, I have a phone, and I have an idea, action. And then like we don't even know like what's the end of the short film is gonna be. We just go and we go with the flow. I did that with my friend Emily. She's not an actress, but we worked so well together, and she's an artist. She's an actress at the end of the day, because we work so well. We're like connected. I realized that after working with other actors that I would go action and give her my idea, and she would just do everything perfectly, and she would be so funny. And now, like, when I started directing with like actors at the school that I was hiring, I would just go like action, and they would look at me like, yeah, but you didn't tell me. And so yeah, it's a bit funny.
So it's kind of, sometimes it's hard to find somebody good for your vision. Like it's not easy to find somebody for your vision.
Yes, but it's also you see also the way when you connect artistically with somebody and you have exactly the same vision, and it's also like in the professional world now, everything. It's like, because before we were just doing this for fun and there's no failure, there's no judgment, it's just like we're having fun, and now it's like everything has rules. You realize that acting has a technique. That's also something very important, that everything is so like, and now like after being in a conservatory, you know like a base, a skeleton of like how you analyze a text, how you approach a scene, that before I would just go with the flow, and now you can see with a technique so many ups and down, everything, how you make a scene interesting.
Right. What did you, when you first came here, you came here 2 years ago for the first time, and what did you like, how did you figure out like where you're going to stay and like where you're going to live, like how did you figure it all out?
I stayed in the dorms of my school.
Okay.
It was an experience. It was called the Stratford Arms, and it was an old psychiatric hospital? No.
Psychiatric?
Psychiatric hospital. Yeah, it was an old psychiatric hospital, and so all the rooms were very tiny, and we had a bunk bed for 2 people. The bathroom were so gross. You had to go out for the shower, go out for the bathroom. I had like a fridge and a microwave to make food for a year. It was, and right after I graduated, like in June, they changed the dorms to some place nicer downtown. So, but it was an experience living in a tiny place like that with a friend. It's not something you're ever gonna do. It's not something I'm ever gonna do again in my life. It was just an experience, and I'm glad it's over.
Right. So, I mean, you didn't really know much about New York before you came here. Like, did you know much about like New York, or you had no idea really?
I think you cannot very be prepared.
Yeah.
I don't know, because it's also like, it's not just New York, it's also like the adult life. I came here right after high school.
Oh, okay.
And so it's all the, I remember, because it's been exactly 2 years, so I have all the flashback videos of like me arriving in that room and being like tired, jet lag and everything, and there's nothing in that room, so we had to go to that store and get like sheets and like pillows and plates, and you think about all these things that are like normal in a house and that you need to buy, and like all these daily things of adult stuff. So being in New York, I really love being in the city. I'm definitely a city person. I love having everything everywhere, and yeah, I really like, I've been in Paris suburbs, so I've always been like around in like a city environment, but here it's like, it's very good. I really like it.
You like it?
I really like it.
Did you like it when you first came, like the first couple of weeks? What was it like? Were you?
Yeah, it was not good at first. No, yeah, we're not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. The first weeks were rough. The first like being here, and like, yeah, there's this excitement of like, wow, but my life in France, and like I had like so many friends that I would see like all the time, and suddenly everything is washed out. You're on the other side of the ocean. Yeah. Your body cannot physically be with your friends on the weekend if you want.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's really weird, and like, it was really rough because I'm a very social person. I need to see people all the time. I love to laugh with people. I love to talk with people all the time. And the first year has been really hard of like socializing with musical theater people that are very, in America, very interesting group of people. And now I feel so much better. I moved into an apartment. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm meeting a lot of French people, and so I'm socializing so much better.
Yeah. Do you? Well, how does it? Like, is there anything that you like? What's the like? What's the main? What are some of the differences from your home city to here? Like, what are the major
From
things?
Paris to
Yeah,
here.
like what are the major things that you notice are like very different?
Ooh, first I would say security at night for going out and coming home. Even though New York is not perfect, like no, it's not. But the transportation, for example, in Paris, the subway shuts down at night, and so here you can go anywhere, anytime. So this is a big difference, I feel like, because it changes the way you party with your friends and you go out. So, yeah, like socials, the social life is very different. Everything is always such a big deal with Americans, I feel like, or like at least the people I first knew. And in France, you would just go out and like last minute, you have like a thing, and it's really fun. But no, like no. It's a lie. It's a lie. Now, like it's not all Americans because now I'm meeting more people that I feel very very close to, and I'm feeling so much better now. I'm feeling so much better.
Okay. What about like some of the who you admire in film, actors? Who do you like? It doesn't have to be. It could be anybody.
Okay. Yeah, the first person who comes to my mind always when somebody asks this question is Marion Cotillard. Because of course she has the best name. No, but I saw her in La Môme. I think here it's called. No, I don't know. La Vie en Rose, I think here it's called. But it's the movie about Edith Piaf, her life. And Marion Cotillard plays Edith Piaf. And she is fantastic. She's beautiful and authentic and moving, everything. She's brilliant. And yeah, that's the first person like the first big name that I admired. Now, I have like inspirations for example, for my short films. I have like a lot of like the aesthetic of the French movies of the 90s, the 80s, like all these old movies like L'étudiante, which means the student, and very like it looks like the film is also like very simple and like it's also just a camera following like somebody's life, and I love these very simple movies.
What kind of French films do you like?
I like yeah, L'étudiante is like I think my favorite movie because it's like romantic, funny, and like beautiful music. Like Vladimir Kosma is the composer, and the music is so important in the movie. Everything is so important. The picture, the photography, the everything.